G'day and welcome back to another episode of Launchpad. And in this episode, we're going to talk all about social media marketing for business in 2023. We're going to talk about scheduling. We're going to talk about ads. We're going to talk about common pitfalls and mistakes, all that and much more right after this. As I said in the introduction, we are talking all about social media for small business in 2023 because social media changes all the time. So it's worlds apart from what it was in 2022. If you thought you knew social media in 2022, well, you are dead wrong. And here to prove how dead wrong you are is Tina Hay from Puzzle Media.
Thanks, Stuart. Thanks for that lovely introduction. Yes, look, social media is constantly changing. I guess the basics are still there. Yes, we all know, well, most of us hopefully know how to post, and we still need to be sharing compelling content. But lots of different things happen throughout the year, and different social media channels launch different features. So yeah, we're going to talk about a few of them today. So
what are some of when you talk about 2023 versus 2022, what are some of the most significant changes that you've noticed personally?
Yeah, well, I think the introduction of obviously the launch of ChatGPT, I've seen a lot more content going out from smaller businesses that I wouldn't normally see. And I think they're just getting a little bit confident with using it, which is great. Having said that, I don't know if it's because we've been using that kind of software for a little while that I can almost pick when people are using it, which is interesting. So what we don't want, so little tip here for listeners, if you are using ChatGPT to create content, all I would say is just make sure you're using really specific prompts that are relevant to your business and your target audience, rather than just, I'm a plumber, please write some social media content for me. Okay, create 10 posts for me. What you want to say is, I'm a plumber specialising in new bathroom fit outs, and I'm based on the Gold Coast, and my target audience is customers that own properties that are worth over $1 million. Okay. If you are that specific, I haven't put that into ChatGPT, so I don't know what that's going to spit out. What you're going to get is something that is a lot easier to kind of edit and play with. But yeah, definitely the introduction of ChatGPT.
A lot of these AI tools, ChatGPT is the one that most people will have dabbled with because it's free and it's easy to access. So the barrier to entry is non-existent. But I think a lot of these tools, people make the mistake of thinking, oh, I can just put some generic, super broad, ambiguous prompt in and expect that it's going to get gold. And they're just dumping that into social media or writing articles for SEO. And it's kind of a garbage in, garbage out type scenario. So absolutely. If you give it nothing of value or nothing to really guide the direction of what it's doing, you're probably going to get trash out the other side. So I sort of think that ChatGPT and a lot of these tools, for some people, they're sort of amplifying what they would already do on their own. So if you were bad at social media before, you probably still be bad at social media with ChatGPT. You'll just be able to create more stuff more quickly that is bad.
Yeah, pretty much. I think, definitely give some guidance if you can, if you are using it. But that's definitely been a big one. Another thing that I have noticed is more and more people tapping into some of the LinkedIn features. So for those of you that are not utilizing LinkedIn, it is one of my favorite platforms for those that are selling from one business to another. So us at Puzzle Media, we tend to sell to other business owners. We are what we call B2B. And so in that space, it's if that's what you're doing, if that's what your business does, and you're not utilizing LinkedIn, I highly recommend it. So with LinkedIn, it is a professional platform. You would still post on there like you would with Facebook and Instagram. You can still add images. I've noticed a lot more people utilizing video over the last few years. This year, probably more so. So I don't know if LinkedIn is actively pushing out video content, but I seem to definitely be seeing a lot more of it. You also have features such as a newsletter and LinkedIn articles, whereby you can create a newsletter linked to your business or to your professional profile. So we've got one called, I think it's called Marketing Musings with Tina Hay. And so what we do is within the agency, when we're writing a newsletter, if it's relevant, it's not always relevant, we will actually add it onto there and send it out. And so there's an entire other group of subscribers on there. Yes, there is some crossover with our database, but we're actually activating more and more people and sharing and educating, which is the whole point of using social media, really, to engage others. So, yeah, I've seen a little bit more traction with how people are using LinkedIn, something that works really well. And again, I've seen that ramp up probably in the last 6 to 12 months, although people have been doing it for a while, is when people are going to industry events, networking events, professional events, they are taking pictures and they are tagging all of the other business owners, all the other businesses, the venue, the person holding the event, or the entity holding the event. And so what that does is every time you tag someone, if I went to Stuart, if you went to an event and you didn't post, but someone tagged you that I'm not connected with, I will see that post. And so the idea is I go onto that person's profile, I check them out. If I think that, it would be good to be connected with them, I will reach out and connect. And in fact,
it's a nice way to draw attention to yourself from someone you don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And it's certainly a way that I definitely, go into LinkedIn at least a couple of times a week and have a little scroll through. And I do reach out and connect with people that look interesting to, learn a little bit more from, or who I want to do business with, or who might be a good referral partner at some point. So, that's what I've noticed with LinkedIn.
What about, let's talk about some mistakes, because the other day I saw something that I thought died a long time ago, which was the equivalent of the Facebook like ladder.
Oh,
do you remember those?
Yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't know, and hopefully no one listening has ever done this, but you essentially, it's like a group of people on Facebook, and they would essentially go, hey, post a link to your Facebook page here, and everybody goes and likes that page, and then you go and like everybody that liked your page, and there's just a horrible mess of people ending up following your Facebook page that have zero interest in what you have to offer or what you have to say. And that the problem with that, and I saw that on Instagram, someone was doing it,
actually,
and everyone's
I have
replying.
Seen it. Yeah. When you said Facebook, I was like, I haven't seen it on Facebook for a long time, but I do see it on Instagram sometimes.
Yeah, everyone was commenting, oh yeah, I've followed everybody. Here's mine, follow back. And the problem with that for our listeners is, the main thing is that, let's say you build up a following of 10,000 people, for example, and then anytime you post, those followers are definitely not going to interact with your stuff because they didn't care to begin with. And probably they will end up unfollowing you ultimately anyway. They'll do a bit of a cleanup. But then let's say you had 10,000 followers that had done this scheme who don't care about your stuff, and then another 500 followers that do care about your stuff, and you post something and you want all of your followers to see it. Well, now you're probably going to have to pay Facebook to push that post out to those people, because the algorithm sees, well, nobody ever interacts with your stuff, so your stuff is clearly low quality, so they're going to crush your organic reach even lower than what it is by default anyway, which it's already low.
It's pretty low.
And so you're going to have to you're basically making a rod for your own back. You're going to have to pay Facebook to force them to put eyeballs on your stuff because you wanted to increase your ego metrics and, increase your number of followers for really no benefit.
Absolutely. I actually had a meeting this morning with a potential client. And when I asked them about social media, they said, we had an agency doing some stuff for us. And they grew our following by a couple of thousand people, but they're all in the US and they're not selling to the US market. And so that exact same scenario of, even if those people in the US are a potential fit for that audience, this client, it's useless. It's pointless because they can't actually buy what they're selling because they're not here in Australia. So definitely, that's one mistake. That's definitely one mistake that is not worth. Just don't do it. Don't do it, people.
What are some other common traps people fall into for you?
Do you know? Something that I do see a lot of is people sharing content that is not relevant at all to their business, their services, their products, or their target audience. They're just sharing stuff for the sake of sharing stuff.
What's an example, like what they had for breakfast or something?
Yeah, basically. So, although having said that, people want to see behind the scenes. So someone that is not, what is a good example of that? That's a good question, Stuart. Let me have a think. So someone that is selling skincare, okay? And then they start sharing content that is about, I don't know, going out, like they're putting things like, we're out for cocktails, and they're putting, pictures of cocktails on their feed, right? Everyone knows that with, good skincare starts within, right? And I love a glass of wine or a cocktail, and a cocktail sometimes. That's not really, is that relevant? Is that the right kind of fit? And maybe depending on your skincare brand, if that's what you're doing, you're saying, go and drink this and then hydrate with this skincare, then absolutely. But maybe not the best example. But, when it's not really aligned with what you're trying to promote, does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think, I think if you were going to, it's always a bit of a fine line, isn't it? Sometimes to, like, if you're going to share stuff that is really behind the scenes, maybe not relevant to, you might post that as a story because it's going to expire after 24 hours.
Absolutely.
It can be a bit rough and ready. It doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't necessarily have to be super beautiful and professional, like the stuff that goes onto your main feed.
Yeah. And that's, So I think also just not talking to your target audience, like really not using language that resonates with them, I think is another thing. So just not being aware of what, how to speak to them. So, if you're trying to target, I don't know, law firms and professional services, there is a certain way that you need to, there's a certain etiquette that's unspoken that you need to, or maybe it is spoken, that you do need to kind of portray. And so if you're not sharing content that is aligned with that, there's going to be a massive disconnect. So people will not, they're not going to relate or, resonate with the content.
I saw, I've been seeing, and I interacted with the ads, so now I'm getting retargeted, but I've been seeing ads for this person's agency. I won't say the name of it. And I've never seen ads like this before. He's like, kind of looks a bit disheveled. He's swearing on the camera and swearing at people. And have you seen them?
No, I haven't, but I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's and I watch them, and my immediate reaction is, this is really bad. But then I
think of Gary
Vee. My marketing hat comes on and I go, I would love to know what the results are. Whether, it's certain to attract a certain type of client.
Absolutely.
I would love to know how many clients it attracts. I'd love to know that, the quality, whether they're the best type of clients that you want.
Absolutely.
Maybe he's doing something that I've never seen done before. So I would love to peek under the hood and see, geez, what is the actual outcome from this? Because you can't, when you see the ads, they're shocking the way he talks.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen them, but let's talk later. I was having a conversation yesterday with a concreting company, and I had just come out of doing some social media training with a law firm, and got in the car and had a couple of missed calls. Was catching up, and I thought, I'll call this guy. I called him, so I had to obviously change the conversation from what I'd just come from, because otherwise I'm gonna scare the guy away. We can help him with what it is that he needs to do, but if I had gone into the law firm with that kind of, you kind of have to be a little bit of a
chameleon.
A chameleon, yeah, you have to be a bit of a chameleon when you're in business, dealing with lots of different business owners, especially. But going back to the social media side, if that is the case, and you have got different types of clients and all the rest of it, have a think about your content and how is that going to come across. If you have, I'm going to be honest, I am, even though I have got a bit of a potty mouth, I am not a fan of sort of swearing and using that kind of language in any of our puzzle media content. It's not something that is part of our brand. We don't have conversations with clients like that. I don't love it, but again, it depends on who I know people that do use it and they do extremely well. So, good luck to them.
Well, you think of Gary Vee. That guy he can't not swear. He's swearing like every 2 or 3 words.
Yeah, and that's not put on. I've heard him speak a couple of times. I've been really lucky to hear him twice speak. And he is just naturally, he cannot help himself.
And I mean,
it works.
He's running an extremely successful media company. So, it's not to say that it can't be done.
Not at all. And no judgment, because quite honestly, yes, I am a bit of a potty mouth, but
just not in the office.
Yeah, just not in the office. There's a time and place, right? But anyway.
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, I think, like you say, it's the tone of voice that you use is going to shape the type of people who are attracted to you, and it will turn people away. There'll be people who go, oh yeah, I love that authenticity and that sort of gritty language. They're fine with that. They're going to enjoy that and feel that the way we talk without swearing,
absolutely,
they're going to feel that we're, I don't know, maybe a bit too stiff and uptight.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
Absolutely. And I don't want to work with them.
Yeah, the other way is true. If you're swearing and carrying on and whatnot, if you want to deal with, the lawyers or people that are, a bit stiffer and, wearing suits and things like that, they may not gravitate towards you because they go, well,
absolutely
not a good
fit.
And
I think, not just social media, that's in real life as well. I'd like to share one other thing that I see, and it's not necessarily mistakes, but it's just a lack of storytelling. So a lack of storytelling, and using things like Instagram stories and Facebook stories. And you can tell stories in your content, as well as in, your static content, any content, but really that storytelling of not just, we got great results for this client, or this skincare is going to change your life. What's the story behind it? People buy into stories. People want to know who they're dealing with. So you need to show them who they are dealing with. Who are the people behind the scenes? When did the business start? What's the business owner's passion behind the business? And I think that's where you see a lot of sort of real life stories. Real results, because the business is sharing real life stories of where they've come, where they're going, why they stock the products they stock or the services that they offer. So I would love to see small businesses really step into that. Big brands are really good at this and kind of hooking us in. I'd love to see more small businesses tapping into that storytelling and being comfortable to share their stories.
I think that's the keys, and I think a lot of smaller outfits are kind of, I don't know, they feel like their story is not interesting or not engaging, but it often is and has a really nice. It's stories are good, but stories with emotion are better.
Yeah.
And generally there's some kind of an emotional element to it of how the business started or the journey along the way is always emotional. I know our business is.
I know mine has been.
So, it's, the emotional aspect is often a really important element that people miss out on that opportunity. I remember, I think it was, SPC, the fruit company.
SPC, no.
They make all tin fruit and stuff that you buy in supermarkets and whatnot. And I remember years ago there was this
tinned fruit.
Yeah, they did this ad campaign because I think some overseas companies were sort of trying to undercut them and they did this really awesome ad campaign about how SPC started with just this little family business, and then they grew and grew, and it was really emotional, this story. Yeah. It was a really beautiful story.
Wow.
And I think Norco, Norco milk?
Yeah.
Pretty sure they did the same thing a while ago. I remember seeing a story about them, about how, they only, because a lot of the milk, the dairies in Australia are owned by overseas companies. Yeah. And apparently Norco is the only one that is
Australian owned and operated.
Fully owned in Australia. Yeah. And they had this amazing story. And from that day, I've only bought Norco since.
Wow.
So the stories can really be powerful.
They really resonate. Like a really good example that everyone would know and be able to relate to is Coca-Cola and when it's Christmas, the Coca-Cola train comes through, or the bus or whatever, with Santa. And so that is, they're basically saying, don't forget to, buy your bottles or cans of Coke for Christmas.
Coke for Christmas, yeah.
But, it's that story, isn't it? It's not just, showcasing the drink. It's actually, it's that little story of, we've been around for all this time, and we've been, what they're saying is we've been around for as long as Santa has.
Yes.
And so it's their branding, and they change those ads every single Christmas. Although they look the same, they actually change them every single year. So, those are the types of, I guess, a couple of ideas there for people to have a think about.
We're almost talking about branding now.
Yeah.
And the association. Yeah. People will buy from brands where they feel that the values of that brand kind of resonates with their own internal beliefs. Yeah. And you've seen really good examples of that. And then you see really examples where that can go totally sideways, like, what's going on with Bud Light at the moment, where they've kind of alienated a large group of their core customer base. Yeah. But people want to buy from brands where they feel sort of an emotional, what's important to me is important to them. So I'm going to support that. Yeah. I remember buying a shirt from like a gym shirt from a company, and they were Australian, and someone jumped on, and I left a comment and said, I really love the shirt or whatever. And someone jumped on and commented, a troll, these ones are way better. And, these shirts suck and you should buy from these instead or whatever. And I checked out that brand that they had recommended, and I replied to this troll and I said, there's no way in hell that I would ever buy a shirt from that company, because when I went to their website, all the people were these massive, like steroid pumping, alpha beast type people. And I'm not like, if you're into that kind of thing, that's cool. Yeah. But but I was like,
that's not you.
That's not me. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to look like that. I'm not interested in that at all. Whereas the people shown on mine were much more normal, sort of athletic type. I was like, that's what I'm aspiring to. So his kind of attempt to, it turned out that this guy actually worked at that company.
Brilliant. And I love it.
His attempt to kind of bring me across totally backfired, because I was like, I know that their t-shirts are probably just as good. I don't want to look like those people, so I'm not buying there.
And you probably cemented your why you're going to that brand, because I think when we make decisions as buyers, we're not actually going, I connect with that brand and I like this because I've had that experience, but we're doing it on a subconscious level.
Yeah.
And so that's where, this is why telling stories and sharing what is going on and who is behind the business is so important. And social media just provides the perfect platform to do that on.
Yeah, 100%.
I would love to just talk about Facebook ads and what we've seen sort of change over the last 6 months or so, and would love to hear from you as well with your clients. So we have definitely seen a drop in cost per lead this year across our clients. So cost per lead being the cost to generate an email inquiry for a business. When we compare, certain campaigns, so when we, work with our clients, we do, especially if they launch or big campaigns where they're putting a lot of advertising spend into a concentrated time period, we do what we call closeout reports to have a look and analyze what's happened, and we compare with what happened, this time last year or this time last launch. Costs have come down considerably for at least sort of 4 or 5 of our main clients that are doing heavy advertising spend.
And what's your theory on the cause of that?
My theory is, this recession that is happening and the cost of living increase that the media are pumping out in Australia. And I think that definitely there are people being affected. I think, though, there are more people being affected by cost of living overseas, in the UK, in the USA and across Europe. I think those countries are being affected more. And, we do forget in Australia, we are only a teeny tiny little, we might be a big country in mass, but our population is still relatively small in comparison to these other countries. So what I feel is happening is potentially less spend. Like some of the smaller businesses have obviously pulled their ad spend. And then you've also got, when you say some of the small businesses in America, well, that counts for a hell of a lot of businesses. So that's my theory. I don't know if that's true or not. That's my kind of where I
agree with you. I think that, and obviously a lot of this is kind of anecdotal, but to me, it feels very similar to what happened during COVID.
I was just about to say, what happened in 2020, exactly. In the first, sort of March to probably about, I don't know, May, June, when everyone just pulled their budget. It was great for those that stayed on.
Those that stay in there, yeah. So basically what happened in COVID was everything shuts down, all the lockdowns happen. Many advertisers go, we're going to pull our budgets because we can't operate and there's no point in advertising and whatnot. And when you're talking about Google ads or Facebook ads, it's all more or less works the same, that if you're competing for those same eyeballs, it's a little auction. So if you want your ad to be shown, you're going to have to pay more than the next highest advertiser below you. And that's what dictates the cost per click or the cost per impression on Facebook, as the case may be. And so what we found is that, exactly like you said, the cost to generate traffic and to show ads just dropped massively. And the businesses that stayed in benefited significantly from that. And now you may ask yourself, well, during a lockdown, what's the point of continuing to run ads? Or if we're in a recession, shouldn't I pull my budget because things are going down? Well, the thing is that the companies that stay in the game and keep their ads running end up getting huge volumes of traffic and for pennies on the dollar. And ultimately, and there's been studies that showed it, they ultimately end up taking away market share from their competitors because the other guys just disappear and these guys stay top of mind. And when things open up and interest rates are going to come down, it's not going to go for too much longer. They're going to come down again, and people are going to start buying things. It's just a little cycle. And when that happens, oh, cool. Well, I was seeing that company over there advertise heaps, and they essentially just win customers away from their competition.
Yep. Definitely. And the thing is, you've got to remember as well, especially when it comes to paid advertising, it's not always, for those that are kind of a bit concerned about, costs and all the rest of it, It's very easy for us as agency owners to kind of say, oh, yes, definitely keep doing it. But I would assume that you were the same, Stuart. We spoke with all of our clients during COVID at the start, when everything went into lockdown. The clients that actually had to finish things up with us were the clients that it was never going to work during COVID for them to continue running ads. And so definitely there are certain industries where you kind of go, look, I would definitely think about maybe scaling back a bit. However, when it comes to restarting, it's not just pressing a button. I wish it was, because, I'd probably be in a different situation, but I wish it was as simple as just pressing a button and then everything suddenly works.
Just went back to the way it was.
Yeah. It takes time to build that up. But yeah, I feel like we've gone off track on the recession, but yeah, back to Facebook ads. We've definitely seen lower costs across Facebook, Instagram advertising, LinkedIn advertising. I'm going to be honest, it's not the most cost effective way of generating leads that we have found for our clients. And so we have always kind of, we'll do a certain amount of testing, but where LinkedIn we have utilized for our clients is when they are recruiting. And so just helping them with some of that. We're not a recruitment agency, but just helping them with that setup. And in terms of like the advertising spend to put behind when they're posting jobs. Oh, just one other kind of tip for small businesses is really not being scared of, we kind of touched on it a bit with the stories, but something that always comes up is, I hate social media. I'm not on there. I don't love it. Or I go on there and I hate it and I don't like engaging. And, there's a lot of fear around sharing on social media. And whilst I absolutely get it from a personal perspective, we're talking about business sharing here. And, you still need to put personality behind what you're sharing, but there's so much fear around getting it wrong. And I think it's, the fear then stops businesses from actually sharing anything. And they've got so much good value to share and so much that they could be doing. But that fear is stopping them back, holding them back. So I guess just some advice would be, it's not about posting every day. It's not trying to necessarily keep up with the latest trends, although I know we're talking about trends today in 2023, but definitely don't hold back on posting and sharing content on social media and engaging with your followers, and people that are connected to you, because there's a lot of gold to be had there, in that brand awareness and nurturing that relationship with potential buyers. So I just wanted to
really, these days you kind of have to too, because there's this entire generation of kids that are coming up through the ranks, and they're going to be your competition, or already are your competition, and they're used to sharing everything for their whole life. So for them, it is second nature. So you may find yourself just slowly being outmaneuvered by them just purely because they're sharing stuff online, and you're not. You're just this silent kind of faceless entity.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess takeaways from today really, just share stories, share content that resonates with your target audience. Don't be scared to share. If you're looking at advertising, this is probably a good time to get stuck into advertising while costs are a little bit lower. And I can't remember the other stuff that we talked about. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about how many followers you've got.
Don't worry about how many followers you've got. Just worry about the ones that are real.
and spending money, ideally.
Yeah, definitely.
Folks, that is all we have time for in today's episode of Launchpad. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We are available on all of the major podcast platforms. If you can think of it, we are probably on there. So make sure you follow or subscribe so you can pick it up on your device, however you prefer to listen, whether it's audio only or you like looking at our beautiful faces, then you can just do that and have a great time. I want to thank, obviously, Tina for coming in once again. And being with us. Thanks so much.
Always love talking about social.
And thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time on Launchpad.